G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back, of course, to the Time Bomb channel, and I hope all is good in your part of the world. Watch review of the Tool Watch Company Time Control Point Rally Chronograph. A fitting tribute to some bonkers drivers and equally bonkers cars. More on that in a moment. As you can see, as with all previous Tool Watch Company releases, it's all about the retro. This one has been kindly lent into the channel for review, so massive thanks to the guys at TWC. Really do appreciate the continued support of my little channel. Let me just zoom in a fraction. So the Time Control Point, or TCPs, are limited editions with only, I think it's 300 of each colorway being released, and they will retail at $400 US. So you have this this one, which is featuring the blue chrono or seconds hand, and then you have the same but with a red seconds hand. It's a slightly bolder contrast, perhaps. And then lastly, this black dialer, which then features the yellow chrono hand. And of the bunch, if I were buying, I think it's the black dialer that really catches my eye. But the silvers do have that very retro feel to them anyway. Note also the packaging. I thought this was quite a nice box. I'm not usually into watch boxes, but this one, I do like the muted grey. So as I was saying, let me just give you a closer look of the watch there. These are a tribute to that Group B rally, 1980s. Many of you will know a lot about. They were almost too, I think, rules free to be realistic and safe. I remember as a kid watching these races, and the name Stig Blomqvist still resonates. But unlike rallies and races nowadays where they have barriers and straw bales, back in Group B they just had a sea of mad spectators lining the tracks. Yes, the good old days, eh? So kicking off with some key specs on this one. These are 38 mils across, and you can add, I think, at least 3 mils more for the crown and the pushers. The crown does stand out quite a long way there. North to the south, though, it is just a mere 46 mils. Obviously that's just to the end of those lugs, so bear that in mind if you are considering putting a steel bracelet on these, because that might just pop the end links out a little bit. But at 46 mils, it's pretty easy on wrist. It's 12 mils deep, and then sits on 20 mil lugs, and weighs in at just under 70 grams on this leather strap. So let me just throw it on wrist so I can show you what the wrist print looks like. I'm rocking my Muff Diver today, which I know will make many of you chuckle and will irk a few others. 1 second. Yeah, so my wrist is 7 1/4 inch, just for reference. And as you can see, it sits very, very, very easily on wrist. Those specs, just under, there seems to be quite a plethora of the under 40 mils chronos being released at the moment. So I think it is certainly a size that many wrists around the world are you know are beckoning for. So yeah, it seems to be working, and as I say, I think for many people it's going to be a very easy fit. You can already see all of the distortion that we're getting off the crystal. The crystal up top is a K1, which is essentially means it is a heat treated mineral, and that treatment essentially makes it a little bit more resistant to the scratches and dings of daily life. Yeah, you can just see it popping up over the top there, and of course it just adds continual distortion to the dial, making photography and videography a little bit of a challenge. The dial we can see through. Let me zoom in a fraction more. The dial then featuring that very heavy, get rid of that, very heavy vertical brushing there as well, which fades in and out as well depending on how much light is bending through that K1 at the top. Notice then also, lots of little details on this one. If you look at the hour markers then at the 3, 6 and 9, they're sort of framed and split. The ones at the 3 and 6 almost appearing a little bit like tridents. You'll notice that later on when I pop up a loom shot. As you can, these one of the odd things about these is that they only come with 30 meters of watery goodness, and frankly I'd like to see that much higher, minimum 50 please. It does have a screw down crown and a screw-in case back, so I'm not quite sure why it hasn't qualified for a higher water resistance. The crown, as I was mentioning before, it isn't signed, but it does feature these very, very grippable flanges. Some might call them a little bit sharp. I'm okay with that. It connects to then the trusty VK64 mecha quartz inside. There is a ghost state position in there, as you would expect. So again, don't be alarmed when you pick that up. The action is okay, but as you can see, it is a fraction loose, and again I'd like to see mine a little bit tighter. Again, bear in mind this is a prototype, so it's been sort of rushed out to get coverage, so do make sure that you check yours. Yeah, there's another reason for asking you to check those as well, and that is the as you will have spotted, the chrono hand at the top there doesn't align. And again, I'm assuming that this is simply down to the fact that I've been sent out a prototype, and obviously it's so very, very obvious when you've got a coloured chrono at the top there. The action though obviously is what you would expect from this movement. Nice, positive, solid crunch as it moves around. And I love with all it's a detail that the the tool watch company really like to play with, and that's the endings of those chrono hands. They like putting different colors, different shapes and things like that. It's just a really fun detail, I think, that helps them stand out. And as I say, a little bit of extra eye candy. And there, as you pop, snaps back up to the top exactly as you want, but as you can see, mine doesn't align. So again, if you're interested in purchasing, make sure that you just get that checked beforehand. I mentioned the loom earlier around those trident endings. It's BGW9, and it looks like this. It's very clean and very evenly applied. And as again, you can see the effect of those markings on those hour markers. And as well, also notice as well that that K1 crystal is distorting even the way that the loom pops back out at you. The obviously fixed bezel again is steel. It does have though then a polished edge on it, and the markings I think on the bezel are clear, but I think personally I'd like them to be a little bit brighter, or perhaps a little bit larger, just to sort of either fill that bezel just up a little bit more, I think. The case back is excellent and features a design by an artist called Krishna Oki. It's a graphic design artist who's come up, I think, with a very fitting retro-fitting tribute to the drivers and brolly dollies of the era. And if that design does work for you, you can also get it on a t-shirt, although it's a little bit expensive for a t-shirt. I think it's a fantastic design indeed. The strap, then obviously, as you would expect on something like this, is that rally style. It's made from Saffiano leather, which according to the fashionistas is what a lot of handbags are made out of. So it is, again, very, very good stuff. And on the feel of it is very, very clean. And then you do get as well your TWCO signed buckle on the end. And it's quick release as well, as you can see there. About the brand, the tool watch company have certainly had a rocky road through to today, and I'm really happy that Peter still has the resolve and the determination to succeed. They've had a tough journey, and I think Jonathan, the owner of Helicon Watches, referenced this the other day when I was talking to him. We're really aware of the rising stars of the micro brand watch world, but many do struggle, and it's certainly not through fault of their own. Suppliers and supply chains can be a nightmare, and when you're producing something as niche as these watches, that can be a setback that is very, very hard to overcome. I think, in a wrap for the watch today, a very fun retro piece. Again, it's exactly what the brand, entirely represents, and it's exactly what their goal is. As I say, there's a couple of QC aspects on this one that I'm going to attribute to it being a prototype. So again, just make sure that you check that with them when you can get some photos sent out to you of the watch that you're going to be sent beforehand, just to make sure these aspects haven't been repeated. As I say, really like the retro vibes of the time control point and everything that the brand does, and much to like about it. And again, those couple of consideration points for you guys. What's your take on this one, gentlemen? Really look forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback on this one. Massive thanks again to TWC for the loan of this one, and thank you to you guys for your time and for your view.